of Police and his management team. The police chiefs have hardly taken their seats when the minister began to dramatize his already written 5-page scripts. The bewildered top police officers watched with disbelief as the minister took the Nigerian police to the cleaners, accusing the police high command of defiance to government directives.
From the above preview, it is apparent that since the coming on board of this administration, government has demonstrated in no small measure genuine concern for the needs of the Nigeria police. Aside from the reform agenda, the government in 2008 effected a substantial increase in the salaries and emolument of the personnel of the Nigeria police, such that a constable who before then was paid 7,000 naira now receive about 21,000 naira a month. Furthermore, the government has consistently increased the capital budget of the Nigerian police force. In 2009, the Nigerian police force had about 21 billion, which is expected to increase above 30 billion in 2010. Regulatively, the Nigerian police force has not reciprocated the gesture of government by way of commitment to duty and responsibility to this country. The current rate of crime increased across the nation. The rising cases of extrajudicial killings, human rights violations, robberies, high-profile assassination, and deliberate failure to comply with government directives all are testament to the sheer incapacity or willful defiance of the High Command to this recommendation and assignment attack. The current security situation in the county, to say the least, is condemnable and unacceptable to government and citizens of this our great nation. I therefore believe that the time has come for the Nigerian Police High Command to review its strategies in order to perform its duty. No responsible government will fold its arms and watch helplessly as its citizens are being made or cut down in their pride when there is a police force in place. The Nigerian police should improve on its investigative skills. Government expects results from the high-profile crimes committed in Salat as a demonstration of a functional police force. The High Command should therefore rise up to the challenge, failing which government will be left with no option than to find appropriate solution if deemed fit.
Responding to the minister's tantrums, the Inspector General of Police, in his usually composed temperament, took time to tackle all points raised by the minister, where he told the minister that the Police High Command had implemented areas of the federal government reforms where funds are not required, and pointedly told Dr. Ibrahim Lame that the proposed reforms have not been fully implemented by the police authority due to lack of funds.
Senior police officer, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have listened attentively to the Honorable Minister's address. All I can say at this point in time is that this administration is only 7 months old. And since we came on board, we have tried as much as possible from the first day to implement the reform agenda within our capacity. The reforms are an ongoing process. Reforms cannot be completed in one day. So we are taking it one after the other. Several committees have been set up, the training and capacity, logistics, welfare, image of the force. We have tried as much as possible since then, and these committees have been working very hard. The areas where we are, that we can implement the agenda without funding, like areas of structure in the force itself, we have done that. Everybody is aware that we are still waiting for funds to enable us to implement the police reforms as it concerns capacity building, barracks, and so on. Even then, with the little resources available, we have been able to send our men on training both within and outside the country. And as I'm talking to you, the colleges, the police colleges all over are filled up with policemen undergoing one refresher course or the other. You will recall that as soon as we came on board, within hours that we came on board, the Boko Haram issue started. And since then, the problems coming up in the country had not abated. If it is not religious, it is political. Then the issue of kidnapping had been there. We succeeded in quelling the Boko Haram issue. Then immediately after that came that of the Darul Salam, which we handled. After that was kidnapping in Anambra State. And we sent in policemen there that brought the level of kidnapping down. There were elections organized in various places. There were other religious crises that cropped up, the Kalakato and the rest of them, not to talk of the crime rate that we succeeded in bringing down, especially in the southeastern states. We had to deploy 16 units of mobile policemen to Anambra State and other parts of the southeastern state, and they remarkably brought down incidents of kidnapping. Since that time, we have been involved in other duties. There was the Under-17 World Cup that took place here, and we deployed policemen. No incident was reported here, not even as much as a scratch. We have carried out elections in many states, and nothing happened. Nobody was shot, nobody was disfigured. People acclaimed that we did well. The crime rate, there's no country in this world that is crime-free. We are operating under a very unhealthy environment. We are supposed to operate, we are supposed to be the ones that have legitimate recourse to instruments of coercion. But in our country today, there's proliferation of firearms. People are carrying firearms all over the place. We saw the ones that were released from the Niger Delta. How awesome. These are policemen are being killed on a daily basis during bank robberies and other violent crimes. We have made the sacrifice both in men and material. We have been requesting for items to kit our men, to make us more proactive. We want vests, we want helicopters, we want arms and ammunition to enable us to meet up with the demands of our society. Nigeria is a large country with over 140 million people, while the police is still at 370,000. And then we are trying our best. The prisons are filled up to the congestion point. The prisons are congested. These detention cells are congested. These are in the criminal justice system. It is the police that initiates action. Police is working, making arrests all over the country and charging them to court. That is why we have congestion in prisons and other places. There is no country that is without crime. The crime level will come down and it will go up. It is dynamic. It is never static. The Nigeria Police Force is trying its best, given the limited resources that it has. I continue to say that police reforms is a process and not a one-day event. We are just 7 months in the force. We have tried as much as possible to change the image of the force because we have to reorientate policemen, how to be courteous to members of the public, how to perform their duties, even the question of human rights that we inculcated it in our strategies. We have also created human rights offices, public relations departments in various divisions, and BPOs are getting their money. Right from the top to the bottom, they are getting their money. The equipment that was donated, the vehicles, we have shared it out to various divisions. And we are solidly on the ground. But the fact remains that crime rate will always go up and come down as the situation demands. I would like us to look at this issue properly from the economic, political, social, and religious aspects. That it is not the police force that causes crime. The police are there to prevent crime, not the police force that causes it. And the police must have the empowerment to be able to prevent crime, to fight crime. We have lost so many officers every Thursday. We pay stipend to officers who have died in the line of duty. And the situation is such that every hand must be on deck. I don't believe that this is the time for trading blames or finger pointing. We need both to say that our policemen are fighting, working very hard, and paying with their lives for it. So I will appeal to all and sundry, I will appeal to all citizens to be patient with us. and we shall get it right.
The ad boss of the Minister of Police Affairs, Dr. Ibrahim Lame, can be likened to the proverbial bad workman who blames his tools for his inefficiency. How much money did the minister release to the police authority out of the 2.8 trillion naira for the so-called police reforms? The saying that one cannot make bricks without straw makes nonsense of the minister's ad boss of the alleged failure of the Nigerian police force. Dr. Lame, who decided on his own volition to swim in muddy waters, told members of the public that the capital budget for the Nigerian police force in 2009 was 21 billion naira. But what the minister failed to tell the public is that there are 3 thresholds that have access to the funds allotted to the police. The 3 thresholds are the Council of States, Ministry of Police Affairs, and the Nigerian Police Force. Any of these bodies can access the account. The Ministry of Police Affairs, as the custodian of the account, is said to have spent about 70% of the budget. Apart from the huge donations of vehicles and other logistics to fight crime by various state governments to state police commands across the nation, what has been the contribution of the Ministry of Police Affairs under Dr. Ibrahim Lame in the area of acquisition of security equipment to fight crime and criminality? The minister was said to have purchased 6 helicopters, which are yet to arrive the country, based on the approval of the Federal Executive Council. So we ask, can police fight crime on the air without fortifying themselves on the ground? How many operational vehicles, armored personnel carriers, bulletproof vests, communication equipment, tracking devices, database computers, forensic lab equipment has he bought for the police? How many barracks accommodation has he built or renovated as the Minister of Police Affairs in the last 2 years? Dr. Lame also said that the federal government has demonstrated concern for the needs of the police in no small measure by the increase of salaries and emoluments of personnel, such as the constable, who was paid 7,000 naira monthly, now receives 21,000 naira monthly. Interestingly, the police is now the only beneficiary of the pay rise. It was an increment across board for security agencies by the federal government. Why that of the police became a ding-dong is what should be explained by the Honorable Minister of Police Affairs. Come to think of it, the minister in his lamentation failed to tell members of the public that the Nigerian police lost no fewer than 1,150 police officers and men between January 2009 and February 2010 in the course of curbing armed robbery attacks and sectarian violence, particularly during the Boko Haram crisis. Is it justifiable for a police constable who faces criminals on a daily basis and most times get killed in line of duty be paid a paltry sum of 21,000 naira as a living wage? In a bid to check the upsurge of crime and criminality in the country, the federal government came up with an intervention measure tagged the 7 Cities Strategies for Crime Prevention and Control as a stop-measure gap before the takeoff of the police reforms. The strategy is to be implemented in 7 cities across the country. The cities are Abuja, Kano, Maiduguri, Lagos, Ibadan, Onitsha, and Port Harcourt. The sum of 3.6 billion naira was released to the Ministry of Police Affairs for the implementation. The essence of this intervening fund is for manpower development of the force, counter-terrorism training, public order policing, and acquisition of security equipment for operational use in those 7 cities. The minister, who is solely in charge of this project, spent 250 million naira on consultancy and 300 million naira on the training of 494 officers for 12 weeks at Kaduna Police College. It was even the police high command that renovated the Kaduna College before the commencement of the training. But the big question is, what has the minister done with the money in his care? What is holding back the full implementation of the 7 Cities project 1 year after? Crime Fighters had a chat with the Honorable Minister of Police Affairs exactly 1 year ago, where questions were put to him on how he intends to address the deteriorating state of police colleges and other training institutions of the Nigerian police force. Listen to him.
We go to the next question, which has to do with accommodation.
Yes.
I know you touched on it, briefly, but I want us to dwell on it. The IG was painting a picture of putting 129 officers. As it were now, we have an assistant commissioner of police down to the commissioner of police or AIG rank that don't have accommodation in Abuja. And he had just a 4-story building and he had to pay for men to live in one flat. Men they need their privacy. They have worked to the extent of having comfort. When a man gets to assistant commissioner of police, he should be comfortable. His family is scattered somewhere. You get to the rank of commissioner of police, you don't have the comfort. What's the reaction to this? What are you doing to give these men who truly labor for us the right accommodation?
That's a good question. There is this housing scheme which we are working on. Before I came in, the housing scheme issue was on ground. We were working with individuals and financial institutions to support this program. Actually, contractual agreements were entered with some of these individuals, some of these developers. And unfortunately, in some of the cases, we have some difficulties. And since I came in, we are looking into those areas to ensure that those difficult areas are removed so that we can provide housing for our rank and file in the first place, and then for the senior officers. That does not stop government from providing additional accommodation. Government is still continuing to provide accommodation for our officers, and we're also embarking on the rehabilitation of the barracks that are available. What is required is colossal. For the barracks and accommodation thing, I think out of the 1.6 trillion, 2.8 trillion, I think about 1.6 is going into that. 1.6 is going into these areas, accommodation, barracks, and equipment and logistics. The remaining 1 trillion is where we are thinking a lot of it goes into community policing, communication, and the rest of it. So the requirements are colossal, really colossal, because let me give you the picture. Before we came in 1999, I think the number of the Nigerian police force, you should know, is very low. So the then president, Obasanjo, directed that each year 40,000 policemen should be recruited. And that recruitment went on without expansion of facilities, without even proper structure for recruitment. So in trying to solve the problem of not having enough police, we compounded it by recruiting people that just came in because they didn't have a job. And when they came in, we didn't have enough environment and facilities to train them.
The staff colleges have gone terribly bad. And one begins to wonder when you say you want to train, the environment where you want to train these men and women, the infrastructure has gone so terribly bad. As we speak now, I would lay emphasis on the staff college JOS. The present officers that are on the intermediate course do not have generating sets. There is no water. In fact, they don't even have, they feed themselves. The teachers that used to come to train them have stopped training them. They had to resort to training themselves. Those are for the SP and CSPs. And about 2 months ago, they sent another 1,000 policemen, the rank and file, that were being trained to graduate to the cadet ASP. They are there, and the place is clustered. What's your reaction to this?
Well, you have identified the problem of the police correctly. Over the years, the entire sector was neglected, but in particular in the area of training. You cannot have the police post you desire without giving them the correct kind of preparation. And you do that by training them. First of all, you have to recruit them properly. You have to do proper recruitment. You have to have guidelines and set up conditions under which you will have people that should be qualified to be recruited into the police. And then when you do that, you set up certain conditions under which they will acquire the skill and the orientation that is necessary for them to provide the kind of services that society expects from them. And that's why when I came in, I thought the first thing I should do was to concentrate in determining what must be done to create the necessary environment, the necessary conditions that will give these men and women we have recruited and those that are already there and those that are coming, the condition for them to receive that kind of skill. And that's why my first reaction was to go around the schools, to see the conditions of the school, to talk to the people there, to talk to the officers, to find out solutions. We have picked 2 out of the big colleges, that is Jos and the Kano Academy. So the academy is going to be upgraded into a real academy for the police. The police colleges, the other police colleges and police training institutions, we are also going to, one, rehabilitate them. We are going to recruit good teachers, and we are going to equip them. Under the program, which is going to last 5 years, we will have enough resources to do all that.
Yes.
Once you give proper training to an individual, he will have that concept. So they go hand in hand, yes, in tandem, the training and image. So once you are able to create a policeman that is comfortable with what he's doing, that is proud of his uniform, that is committed, self-esteem, you know, that is compatible with the job. You have given him an environment that he can work. You give him a good house. Give him a wage that will really feed him. Give him something that he will take to his family. You know, allow him to feel that he belongs to a society that cares for him. So that is one. You have to address their work environment through providing them with the correct logistics, correct infrastructure, correct equipment to confront the criminal environment that is getting too sophisticated. You have to do that. You understand? If you do that, everything that we are doing is linked. One is linked to the other. So if you are able to succeed in one, then the next 2, 3 other issues would also develop and complement each other, yes.
Talk, they say, is cheap. It doesn't cost anything but breath. 2 years of Dr. Ibrahim Lame as Minister of Police Affairs have been talk, and no action. He has not renovated the police colleges, neither has he acquired operational logistics for the police to fight crime as promised in that interview exactly a year ago. Yet he blames the force. So who has really failed the nation, if not the Honorable Minister of Police Affairs?